Wagwan squad. So today I'm going to show you how to cook some restaurant quality pumpkin rice. This one is so easy. A big thing with cooking pumpkin rice is that a lot of times it ends up soft and putty, especially if you use coconut milk. I'm going to show you a neat little trick to help with that. Thanks again for tuning in and thanks for the support. Almost at 6k subs. Drop a sub if you like the vibe or learn something new. Now let's cook some rice. This one is going to go fast, so let's get some prepping done. First thing is the pumpkin. This is about 1.5 pounds of pumpkin. I'm going to be cooking about 1 pound or 2 cups of rice. I'm getting rid of the fibrous bits and seeds on the inside. Next I'm going to peel the pumpkin, but you could leave the skin on for a bit of extra fiber. It's totally edible. A better quality pumpkin will give you a better quality finished dish. Next I'm going to slice in half. Half of this I'll dice. I want some medium diced pumpkin to finish the rice with. This will double down on the pumpkin flavor and add some varied texture. For an easy dice, cut into evenly squared strips. Turn and then slice for a medium dice. That's roughly the same size and shape. This is so these cook evenly and look good. Grab a bowl to put that in. Next, I need some shredded pumpkin, so I'm going to grate the other half. That's kind of too big. You could blend this instead of grating, but for this rice, you don't want a lot of liquid in the beginning, and I will show you why in a minute. Place that into a bowl, and we'll come back to that later. Next, garlic. 3 cloves is fine. Smash that so it's easier to mince. Go ahead and give that a good mince. This is going to add some extra flavor to the rice. Half of a medium-sized onion. This is also for some deep flavors in the rice. Strip off the outer skin and dice that. I want small dice, but it doesn't really matter if you cut them bigger. Prepping done. Easy. The next steps will go fairly quickly, so it's important to have everything prepped first. The very first thing I'll do is cook those diced pumpkins. Use a generous splash of olive oil, and I mean generous. Get that hot and then hit that with the diced pumpkins we did earlier. I want these to caramelize, and the olive oil adds a ton of flavor. Some fresh thyme. The fresher the better, and this also adds a ton of flavor. Next, add scallion. You can add them in whole, no problem. Just saute these until they start to brown and caramelize. Season with a bit of salt to get those flavors going. I'm going to use this same pot to cook the rice, and these are ready, so remove them and set them aside for later. Using one pot for everything increases how easy this recipe is. So after remove everything, throw in the onion we prepped earlier, throw in the garlic as well, and give that a good saute. This is a bit too hot, so I'm going to reduce the heat a bit. Don't want to burn this. I'm just going to saute until the onion is translucent. I have about a dozen pimento grains here. This adds some lovely flavors, and sauteing them brings it out more. Next, add the shredded pumpkin. This is entirely optional, but I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter. Cook that pumpkin for a couple minutes, then add 1 pound or 2 cups of thoroughly washed plain rice. There's a bit of water still in the pot, just cook that off, and this is the trick to getting shelly pumpkin rice. The olive oil and the butter coats each grain of rice and helps to keep them separate. Next, add a cup of coconut milk. That's not enough liquid, so I'm going to be adding a little over half cup water. So it's 2 cup rice to a bit less than 2 cups liquid. Taste to gauge the salt level before adding any salt. Remember, we added a bit of salt to the diced pumpkins we sauteed earlier, and we also added butter, which was salted. Taste the liquid. It should be just slightly saltier than we want the rice to be. It will even out as the rice cooks. Just cover and let that simmer. But first, I'll just throw in the thyme and the scallion from the pumpkin that we sauteed earlier. It still has some flavor. Cover that up. I'm turning the heat to medium and I'm letting it simmer for around 5 or 6 minutes. 6 minutes later, the rice has absorbed a good amount of water, but the grains are nowhere near cooked. Next, I'm going to cover with aluminum foil to form an airtight seal. This traps all the steam in the pot and makes some really shelly rice. Reduce the heat to low and let that steam for another 8 or so minutes. 7 minutes later, all the water is gone, but the rice isn't completely cooked, so I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. Alright, this looks done. I can get rid of the foil. This is great. Rice cooked perfectly and still shelly. I want to get rid of the thyme and the scallion, not going to eat those. Look out for the pimento too. These are not fun to bite into, but they usually float to the top, so they are easy to find and take out. Next, I'm going to fluff the rice. Sometimes the butter and the pumpkin will separate, so fluffing the rice is a nice way to mix and recombine everything, as well as help to keep the rice grains separate. Alright, so let's plate this up. This rice is really good on its own. It's buttery and flavorful, and look, you can count every single grain. Next, add the pumpkin we cooked earlier for a little visual flair as well as for taste and texture. These are delicious. Make sure you choose a good quality pumpkin when you make this. Next, I'm adding some chives. Some Jamaicans call these Chinese scallions. They are not the most popular herbs here, and you could substitute with some fresh scallion greens or skip it. You will notice that it's there, but probably won't miss it if it's not. And there you have it, a delicious bowl of pumpkin rice, restaurant style. Rich, buttery, and delicious. Coconut milk takes this to the next level and it's extremely shelly. The only thing that's missing is a couple big spoons of brown stew chicken. Give this a try and let me know how it went in the comments.